I then messaged her saying, I'm curious, what would you rate our relationship out of 5? 5 being it's completely setting your world on fire. 1 being that you're settling and you'd rather leave. And she said I'd give it a 3.5 to 4. What would you give it? I then shared what I gave it. And then I asked, okay, what would make it a 5 for you?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, as always, Tim, The Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
I'm doing well. We had a great conversation before we hit the record button, as we always do. I always love it, and I'm going to give the listeners a little insight because it's one of those things that when you and I start talking, it's, we're like, oh, that's right. We got to record a podcast, or we get to record a podcast. And we can keep talking over and over again. But this time in particular, you said, hey, let's just record it and we can have that conversation and others can share into it. So Tim, talk about what you want to talk about today.
Okay. So just to give this even more context, we jumped on to record this episode. And you're like, how you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. Which is a fascinating feeling for me because I feel, I always honor my feelings. It's, very important, something that we teach. Your feeling is your compass. It's very important to acknowledge it and not just plow through it. That didn't work for me for many, many years, many, many decades. So anyway, how am I doing? Distinctly average. I'd probably say below average for me, for my standards. So what I've come to realize, Doug, and this is the first time me sharing this with you because I've not actually spoken to you in a few days. So I was just away for the Network for Transformational Leaders, which was an amazing experience. And one of the things that I left there with was a really huge insight around myself. And I've really been wrestling with this over the past how long now? Sunday today, a week. And we were playing a game around the table at dinner. We played it on numerous occasions with the group at the Network. And the game is called These Three Things. And the purpose of the game is to really go to the depth of a conversation with a group of people that you don't necessarily know that well, or even groups of people that you do know that well, and learn more about them. And how the game goes is, let's say we're playing in Morocco, Doug, with the guys in a couple of weeks. I may say to you, these 3 things are the 3 lessons you had to learn the hard way. You may then share what those 3 lessons were. You then pass it on to the next person. You might say these 3 things are the key to an explosive sex life. These 3 things are things you wish you would have done differently. These 3 things are, whatever. You finish a sentence off with whatever it is you want. And the person then gets to answer those questions. And this doesn't take 5 minutes per person. It's a real case of boom, 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 boom. What is your gut saying? And you share it. So for me, and I must have played this game 4 or 5 times. And one of the things that kept coming up for me was around the intimacy within my relationship. And I came to realize that there's an energy in my relationship that I really want to and desire to reignite and respark. And this isn't about sex. This has nothing to do with sex life. If this level of intimacy leads to more sex, then great, whatever.
And this is your
my
intimate
intention.
Relationship, right?
Intimate relationship, yeah, with Amelia. And, oh God, I've got so much heaviness going on in my body as I share this. So the vision that kept coming to mind for me was reigniting this energy of real seductive playfulness, an energy whereby there's a lot of flirtation around, an energy where there's a lot of desire around. And what I then did on the Sunday night, so like literally a week ago on the final evening of the event, I then started to go and ask people what their experience was of intimacy within their relationship, asking for their advice. These are people that have been married for 20, 30 years, people that have had a very varied sex life, experienced sex with, different couples, swinging, threesomes, for all sorts of different different things. There's a whole, real eclectic mix there once you actually ask the question and dive into it. And I really started to become aware of, do you know what? I've got to do something about this. This has been something that I've been toying with probably for about a year and playing with and exploring and so on. And, I love Amelia deeply. We have a great connection, and, I'm very grateful for the woman that she is and how she gives me the space to travel the world and travels with me and, so on and so forth. And I texted her last Sunday evening and I said, I can't wait to see you. And this was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for me, that triggered the conversations around this table with these people. And she was like, yeah, it'll be good to see you too. And I was like, ooh, that just feels flat. That feels flat. And like I said, this had been bubbling for me for a few days within this game. So you can imagine it's scratching. The itch has been scratched. The itch has been scratched. Sunday arrives. I send that message. I receive the message back. I sparked a conversation with all these people. And then what I end up doing is I take loads of notes. I literally was journaling from all these different people. And this even continued into the following morning with, again, different people. By the time this was done, I must have spoken with about 10 people, some who were intimacy coaches, some of them who have been really happily married for 30 years, some of them who were gay, some of them who, a complete mix. It was like a literary review, if you will. And I left there with some really great insight. And before I left, I texted Amelia saying, do you know what I really wanted to say to you? Because what I really wanted to say to her in the message was, do you know what? I cannot wait to get home to you and hold you and be with you and kiss you. And that same intimate energy that I'd been feeling like I wanted to reignite. I didn't say that to her. I think one of the reasons why I didn't say that to her is because I didn't feel fully safe to say it. And I'm exploring into that as well. And I then ended up texting her very, late into the evening, Sunday evening, early morning, Monday morning, saying, hey, do you know what? This is what I really wanted to say to you. And I got a nicer response to that. And anyway, I arrived back home on Monday, about midday, and I shared it with her. I said, look, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on for me. I really feel like I want to reignite an intimate, seductive, playful energy between us. I feel like we've never had to do that, Doug. We've never been in this space before. We've been together 5 years. The first few years of the relationship was so exciting, not because it was new and fresh, but because we were traveling the world together, building the powerful man. Come on. I mean, that in itself creates a certain energy in the relationship. And then coming back from there, we've still been doing the same thing, and then we've settled more into a groove. And I feel like it's simply time for the next level of visibility, next level of intimacy, next level of connection, everything. So I shared this with Amelia, and she was really open, really receptive. It was a great conversation. And then I went away to Paris. I flew to Paris the following day to be with my friend. And we were there, sat in his living room. And the conversation continued, because this has been weighing on my mind and my heart very, very, very heavily. I don't feel like I've yet reached the point, although I'm nearing it, of, okay, what's the action plan? As guys, we want the solution, don't we? And I've been sifting my way through these emotions and experiences and feedback and seeing what's true for me. And the conversation continued in Paris. And I said something I sent her a message. Now, there are a few key lessons here that you get to learn from me that you don't do. Because looking back, I could have handled this very differently, but it is what it is. We're all on our path. We're all growing. We're all learning. Now, we were there, and I then messaged her saying, I'm curious, what would you rate our relationship out of 5? 5 being it's completely setting your world on fire. 1 being that you settle in and you'd rather leave. And she said I'd give it a 3.5 to 4. What would you give it? So I then shared what I gave it. And then I asked, okay, what would make it a 5 for you?
Whoa. Are you going to share with us what you gave it?
I gave it a 3.
Okay.
I gave it a 3. And she said, okay, well, why? Oh, well, she actually said, well, that's just average. And I'm like, well, no, it's not average. It's 2.5 is average. It's above average. And, things can get so lost in translation through a message, can't they? It would have been so much better for me to do it face to face, but these have been bubbling up in me for so long that, whenever I see something, I'm going to address it, right? It's everything that we teach. Yep. And this is bubbling up in me, although it wasn't the right kind of method that I chose. It's all perfect as well at the same time. So I said it was a 3, which obviously she didn't say this, but the impression that I got from her was naturally she was quite hurt, feeling that, and someone said something really key to me. So in Paris, what triggered, and I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here, but bear with me. In Paris, what triggered the message was a conversation that was continuing. And I felt just this heaviness and something weighing on me, hence the text message. And I shared it with one of my friends that was there. And he then said, oh my God, why are you doing that? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you can't put a number on love. And if she's doing the best that she can with what she has available to her, and you're then giving it a 3, then she's now going to be sat there thinking, well, hell, what the hell can I do? I don't know what more I can be doing for this guy. Maybe I'm not the right guy for him. Maybe I just can't fulfill these needs. Maybe, all these different scenarios can then start to play out. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. One, you can put a number on love. At the same time, as a guy, I want to know where I'm at, and you know how I love tracking, Doug. So, throw that in there as well. And so someone else then said something to me that really, really hit home for me, which I'll get to in a minute. So I then texted her back saying, look, I'm really sorry. I know it'd be better for me to doing this in person. I know I'd much prefer to be there with you, holding you, looking in your eyes, holding your hands and just speaking with you about this. And at the same time, it's really just coming up for me right now. So, I'm looking forward to getting back and being able to do this in person with you and have this conversation so you can really understand what I mean. Now, I get that it's not fair for me either to put a number on love. And, especially if either one of us feels like we're doing the best we can and, it's like a 2 or a 3 or a 4 for the other person, that's not fair either. And she responded saying, yeah, I agree. It wasn't fair of you to do that. And because after I sent that and I shared the man was a 3 and she asked me why, which I'll share in a minute, I didn't get a response for about an hour. So clearly she was, probably a little bit hurt by this.
Sure.
She then said to us, why is it a 3? And I started to share again about this intimate energy that I feel gets to be reignited. And I said to her that I just don't feel desired by you. I don't feel loved by you. I don't feel, what else did I say? Let me just have a look at the message. This is completely on the fly, isn't it? Bear with me. What else did I say here?
While you're looking that up, I just want to, set the tone. If here you are, you've traveled to an exclusive party with high-level individuals, male and female, a masquerade ball at a mansion, and then you've come back. I don't even know did you come back home before heading to France?
For one evening, yeah.
For one evening, and then you head off to France for a good reason, right? You're with somebody who, had a loss in their relationship and to be with them, but you're also with other people in France, all whilst this communication's happening, right?
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this episode because I want to talk to you about something important. We put together a case study on how almost 300 men have taken control of their lives. They're 4Xing their business revenues and they're having more connected and intimate sex, all without sacrificing their relationships or their health by using the activation method. Now, a lot of you have contacted us and you want to know how they're doing it. We put together this short 11-minute case study just for you so you can see how these entrepreneurs are achieving this level of success. To get this case study, all you have to do is go over to thepowerfulman.com/11. Yep, that's 11. And you can get the case study right now. All right, it's only 11 minutes and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, correct. So I said part of the intimacy, that was the message afterwards. So as I'm reading this, like I said, I don't feel desired. I don't feel like we get the best of one another. There's a level of intimacy that's missing right now, and I think it's a level of intimacy neither of us have ever experienced before, either apart or together. And I think that's so true. It's a level of intimacy for me, Doug, that I know I haven't experienced before. And this is growth, right, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know. You arrive at certain points. You realize there's more there for you. And it's this exploration of it that can lead to great places. And I said to her, look, I don't want more intimacy to have more sex. Women want to be desired. And I don't feel that you feel desired from me either. I'm curious to know what you think about this. I'm totally open to you disagreeing with me and feeling that I'm completely wrong. I realize it would have been better for me to ask you in person. I'm sorry for that. My intention isn't to cause you any worry. I'd much prefer to be with you, holding you, looking at you. Are you free on Friday evening? Because that's when I arranged a date with her. So then my friend, I shared this with another friend that was there. And a lot of these friends were at the network with me in Skipton, so they knew what was going on. They were privy to the conversation. And he said, Tim, do you feel desired by yourself right now? And I was like, oh my God. I said, no, I don't. Right, okay. Your love language, what is it? I said, words of affirmation and physical touch. I said, are you giving that to yourself right now? I was like, nope. And he was like, okay. Do you see how unfair this is? You are projecting some of the gaps in yourself into the relationship, wanting Amelia to fix them, wanting Amelia to be the one that gives these to you. And I just pondered on it for a moment. I was like, fuck shit. I am. I do believe there's still some truth that within the relationship there gets to be an intimacy that gets to be reignited. It's not even reignited because it's a different level of intimacy that we've ever experienced. I'm talking like a deep spiritual connection here. Now, the kind of connection that you experience through tantra or maybe doing ceremony together or other things together. And, I also know that the more I give these things to myself at this in a new level, in a new way, because, what I've come to realize on my journey, Doug, is that things work for me for a certain time. And then they start to stop working for me. It's like going to the gym. You lift in a certain way, your body, it's tough while your body's adapting to it. And then your body gets used to it, and then it becomes a bit easier. And I think that's, for me, one of the things that I've experienced in my own practice of self-love, self-appreciation, and self-expression over the past several years that I've been on this journey. And I do know that when I give myself these, when I truly desire myself, because, I get to improve the shape I'm in. I'm not in bad shape for most people's standards. If we talk about overall health, I've got some great routines in my overall health. And I know there's so much more for me. And it's in that knowing that the gap is created that I feel like there's room for me to desire myself more, to flirt with myself more, to appreciate myself more, to play with myself, all these things which will then feed into the relationship. And sure, there are some tactics and things we get to do in a relationship, which I'll share in a moment. And at the same time, there's my own work that I get to do as well. So fast forward to me arriving back from Paris. I arrived back from Paris Friday afternoon. It's now Sunday. And obviously I continue the conversation with Amelia around all of this, sharing with her what's really going on for me. And then yesterday we really started to deepen the conversation. And I said to her, look, this isn't about you. This isn't anything you're doing wrong. This isn't a reflection of the relationship. This is me. This is a reflection of things I'm feeling inside myself about myself that I get to figure out. Like, she then went on to, we walked past a poster of Anthony Joshua, and she was like, that's why he lost the fight. He didn't want to get his face messed up. Like, what do you mean? And she went, I do not know a girl that doesn't fancy him. I was like, all right, what is it about him? She's like, well, he's tall, he's big, his voice, he's ripped, he's a fighter. Then she said something. And he's got this charisma. I was like, Because I know, obviously Anthony Joshua is a good-looking guy, and there's also a lot of other guys equally as good-looking, if not better, in my opinion. And as I then said to her, I said, well, what did I say to her? I'll just say it. I said, I get the impression, Amelia, the way I feel right now is that if we met in a bar right now and we saw each other across the bar, I don't think you'd fancy me. I don't think you see me in that same light or speak about me or think of me with that same passion and energy. So I wanted to know, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. I don't know. And I want to know. I want to know what I don't know right now. I want to know where my gaps are right now because I'm committed to up-leveling this, whatever it takes. No truth is going to be too painful. It's the truth. I want to know what I don't know. And she paused for a while. She made me think, you're lying. And then she said, of course I do. When you go out and we dress up, and I think you look amazing. And anyway, we continued the conversation, and I shared with her something that, as I was in Paris with my friend. So it was my friend who lost someone very close to him. He was in a very loving, amazing marriage for 26 years. And he was talking to me about, what it really takes to have a really happy marriage. And he said some key things. And he said, look, the relationship has got to be the priority. And I didn't used to like to run, but my wife did. So I took up running to spend time with her. She didn't used to like cycling. I did. She took that up together so we could spend time together. It was all about having these shared interests rather than going off completely separate and doing things separate. And he said about the importance of growing with one another, the importance of the sacred space of the relationship, and be mindful of what you put into the space. And some other really powerful insights that, again, I brought back with me and I was reflecting on to see which of them really landed with me, which of them really resonated with me. So yesterday, after I'd shared this with Amelia, how I was feeling, because we were actually in Leeds doing some clothes shopping because we go to Santorini tomorrow. And we ended up just going off in separate directions. And I had a call with a guy that I decided to take from my car. So I headed back to the car. Call lasted 5 minutes, as scheduled an hour. And I just sat there with my phone and I just meditated and journaled about how I was feeling and what was going on for me and some action steps. Because the great thing about this and the great thing about what we teach, Doug, is we have some tools, don't we? So I went through the process in the truth, which is detach, release, remember, reinforce. So I started to detach from this and understand, okay, what are the lies what's the story that I'm telling myself right now? And what's the truth? Who am I really? So I came up with a list of the story I'm telling myself and the truth on the other side. And I started to think of, okay, well, how do I release this? How do I release this heaviness? Okay, well, I get to have a clearing conversation with Amelia. Okay, so who am I really? And then I went through the process to identify who I really am and then reinforce. I've not gone through reinforce yet. So obviously being in town, in Leeds, shopping for clothes wasn't the great place for us to have a conversation. So we arrived back home. We continued the conversation. And I shared with Amelia, I wrote down what it would be for it to be a 5 for me in a relationship, which I'll share with you. And I said, so a 5 for me in a relationship. This is something where a relationship would really set my world on fire. So number 1, not in any particular order. Sex, passionate, lights on, kissing, positions, exploring fantasies with each other, sexual growth, desire for one another, want one another. Conscious communication. able to express wants, emotions, needs, and the other person listens, doesn't feel attacked or judged. We honor each other's needs and feelings, and this is always done face-to-face, never by text. Learned my lesson. Total honesty. We always speak what we think and feel. We listen generously with the belief that you're wonderful and it's possible. Never settle. If either person wants to walk away at any point, they are honest and tells the other person. Deep spiritual connection. Able to see what's going on for one another, hold space for one another, grow together. And Amelia and I have chosen to learn Tantra together. We're going to do yoga together and do some other things together. A woman who is strong, independent, and sexy. She knows her mind and she's grounded. Co-creation versus codependent in brackets. Relationship is the priority and is sacred space. We don't put negativity into the space. We bring positivity, love, respect, and celebration. We take care of our side of the street first. Playfulness. Never go to bed on an argument. We help one another without needing to be asked. We date each other. We make an effort with one another. How we look, our body, how we speak, date nights, presents, surprises, romancing her, sexy gifts, what we do on an evening, not just sitting in front of the TV watching Netflix. Occasionally is fine, every night is not good. I shared this with Amelia. You know, we're not a million miles away from that. We're not, you know. And Amelia's going to go away and write what it is for her, for it to be a 5 in a relationship for her. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put them together. I'm going to write it all out and print it onto a big sheet and stick some photos of us together up around it. And that's almost going to become our promise to one another, our North Star. For me, it's going to be really helpful because it's going to remind me. What we've come to realize is we stop making an effort, really, we do make an effort. We go out to amazing places. We go for dinner. We go out hiking. We do some great things. We have a great relationship and a great life. And there's more. And I'm feeling pulled for that something more. And again, I shared that with her yesterday. Look, I am madly in love with you. I want to be with you and I want to grow with you. I want to grow together. And that's what I'm feeling. I'm really feeling a desire for that. So I feel better in sharing it. I don't feel as heavy because I know you're going to have some amazing insight. I don't feel as heavy now as I did at the start of the podcast. If you've got this far, thank you for bearing with me. I know I jumped around a lot. And if you've got this far, then stay tuned over the next weeks and months because I anticipate a fascinating journey that you're going to be part of as I dive into all of this.
So Tim, thank you for sharing. I mean, it's as any man or woman listening to this knows, being this vulnerable is the hardest thing. So thank you for giving that gift to everybody listening, including myself.
Of course, brother.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying Tim's insights, wait till part 2 where Tim really dives deep and gives you actionable insights into what to do next. I will see you here in part 2 of The Powerful Man Show.